Republicans are debating a new abortion bill today after an embarrassing revolt by several Republican women. Here's a live look at the House floor right now. Late last night, Republicans scrapped plans to consider a bill that bans most abortions after 20 weeks after some in the GOP conference threatened to vote against it.
There is a rumble in the Republican Party already this congressional term, and catching some by surprise is the group that has started the earth shaking. It's all a new abortion bill, and some of the interesting changes it has highlighted from the right. Let's welcome to MidPoint. He is the pastor of Our Lady of Lourdes Church in Massapequa, New York, a prolific author penning 4 books and a syndicated column, also host of the weekly radio program Personally Speaking. Msgr. Jim Lisante joins us today. Msgr, pleasure to have you on the show again.
Great to be back with you. Thank you for having me.
Msgr, here it is. The House GOP, they decided to scrap this bill that would ban abortion after 20 weeks of pregnancy. What was your initial reaction?
Well, you know, it's always important to start with fundamental facts for our listeners and viewers that 98% of the abortions performed in this country, according to the Alan Guttmacher Institute, are performed for what they call reasons of social convenience. And 2% of the abortions in this country have anything to do with rape, incest, or danger to the life of the mother. So we're talking about a fraction of the abortions. But I think this was a symbolic vote. You know, the reality is no new law will come from this vote. We know that President Obama will veto it, and it's just the Republicans' way of saying, look, we care about preborn life, and that abortion has gone too far in this country when you're having unlimited, unrestricted abortion through the full 9 months of pregnancy. But they've made that point before when they opposed partial birth abortion. To me, they've done their job in terms of sending a message that we've gone too far in this country. Now they're fine-tuning a bill to see whether or not they can allow for certain exceptions like rape and incest, and I think that's just part of the legislative process. So I wasn't bothered in any way by the fact that there's going to be debate within the Republican Party. The truth is the Republican Party at least allows for members to be both pro-life and pro-choice. You try as a Democrat to say you're pro-life and you're going to be out of a job.
Well, wait a minute, though, and I think you'll agree with me, there are some people on the left who would say, wait a minute, there are not people in the Republican Party who go for pro-life or pro-choice. They will tell you right away that it is one side, end of the day, that's it, pro-life, walk away. So how would you answer those?
Maybe it's that because I live in New York that I see that many Republicans who have been in elective office and held high office, whether Governor Pataki or Mayor Giuliani, that many people who are Republican have a different point of view on the right to choose, as they call it. But I think there's much more room for debate and discussion in the Republican Party. The reality is that Governor Casey in Pennsylvania found out years ago that by being a pro-life Democrat, he was effectively drummed out of his party, wasn't even allowed to speak at the national convention, even though he had won re-election as governor of Pennsylvania by 1 million votes. So they're willing to sacrifice their own to have a party that's completely pure, completely for the right to choose abortion, even if it means unlimited abortion.
Msgr, let me talk about perception here in all of this, because there was a provision in this bill that would have allowed these abortions only if the woman had reported the crime to police. According to a story here in the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, female members of the party's leadership team worried that this provision smacked of judgment or condemnation. And apparently many people picked this up and they said the bill threatened to tarnish the GOP's image with women and younger voters. Do you see that as a possibility?
Of course, it's a real possibility. And the truth is that we're walking a fine line here, because while you want to make sure that this is legitimate, that we have a real crime that's taken place, and you want to offer women an opportunity to respond to the crime, we know from all the facts and statistics that people are very reticent about coming forward to report a rape because they know that it's going to be a very embarrassing situation. So I understand the sensitivities that would make people say, you know, you're basing it on the need to report, and the report is just not something that women do when they come through the trauma of rape. I just want to say that, you know, rape is a terrible, terrible, terrible crime. And all I want to say as a priest now for 30 years who has counseled and heard the confessions of so many women who've been through this experience, we don't heal a woman who's been through the experience of rape by saying the proper solution is to destroy the child in your womb. The child is an innocent victim just like the woman is. If you're going to go after somebody and punish them, go after the man who did the raping.
Msgr, I know you've heard this before, and this is always going to be the argument here that people talk about. There are those who would say that the government simply has no right to put its hands on a woman's body. How do you then continue to answer that back and make them see that there is a human life at stake here?
Well, you know, you just touched on the whole thing. If we were talking about just one body, I'd be in complete agreement. Unfortunately or fortunately, there are now 2 bodies we're talking about. There's an individual person growing and evolving in the womb. You know, Dr. Bernard Nathanson, who had been a big pro-choice advocate and switched teams to become a pro-life, has said, He wishes there was a window on the womb so we could see that we know fully well that this is human life. I'm reminded that everyone in my parish who gets pregnant, wants to get pregnant, immediately talks about we're expecting our baby in a certain date. When a person doesn't want that baby, suddenly it becomes a fetus, the product of conception. We play this language of illusion when everybody knows at the bottom of the hour what's really going on in abortion. We have an evolving human life, a dependent, innocent child, and we're taking that life. And we should do it only in the most serious circumstances, I think, and I don't think, frankly, that those circumstances too often exist. As I mentioned to you, 98% of the abortions are for reasons of social convenience. Is social convenience enough of a reason to justify the taking of innocent human life? And, of course, I don't think it is.
Do you see social convenience in that specific phrase as something of a heinous excuse, really, when you think about it?
You know, as I go around to schools and colleges around the country and I talk about this issue and I say, do you think social convenience is a legitimate reason for abortion? The majority of people say no, but the reality is of the 1.2 million abortions in this country every year, that is why we do it. It's the wrong time. I have other children. It would be embarrassing. I'm not married. I had plans for my career. These are all reasons of social convenience. But you know and I know that in any debate like the one going on in Washington, it's always best to throw the bombs, to throw the hot button issues, rape, incest, danger to the life of the mother. And those are, as I said, 2% of the abortions performed in our country. Let's deal with the 98% and say that we don't want abortion past 20 weeks of pregnancy, that this is absolutely unacceptable, that this is a viable life, and that we should protect it if we can.
I've got about 45 seconds left here. Do you feel, as many did, that the GOP caved on this abortion bill, or do you see this as something and getting ready for something else down the road, setting it up?
No, I don't think they caved. I think they're having a rational and sensible debate on making the best bill possible. At the end of the day, sadly, unfortunately, this president, who is without exception the most pro-abortion president we've ever had, is doing a great disservice, I think, because he's going to veto it without even considering the fact that it has merit. It's a scary thing to me, and I've said this before in my work at Fox News, and that the African-American population makes up 12% of the American population, but in terms of the number of abortions, they make up 38% of the abortions performed. And I think every time Barack Obama promotes abortion, whether he realizes it or not, he's helping to be part of the genocide of the African-American population. And I think that's another great tragedy about abortion we need to talk about.
Strong comments indeed, and we shall talk about that sometime down the road. Unfortunately, we're out of time at the moment. Monsignor Jim Lisante, it is always a pleasure to have you on the show. Thank you so much, and please, I hope you find someone to shovel your walk in the morning.
Thank you, my friend. Have a great day.
Take care, Monsignor. Other side of a short break, a 50-year-old murder case making headlines. It's coming up on MidPoint.